we are grateful to those who have come this evening to the House of Commons to talk about the future expectations for Hong Kong. The next speaker is Edward Leung Tin Kai, somebody who is a young activist in Hong Kong.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edward Leung, and today I'm very honored to be given the chance to speak on behalf of my people in Hong Kong, because last year I was deprived of my political right to represent them. My case is a rather complicated one, because last February, during the by-election of Legislative Council, more than 66,000 Hong Kong people voted for me. That meant the notion of localism, which was once marginalized, started to resonate among many Hong Kongers, especially the young generation. Unfortunately, that drew the attention from Beijing's watchful eyes. 5 months after the by-election, I attempted to run again for office in the general election of Legislative Council, so as to realize my dream to be the representative of Hong Kong people. However, the government suddenly required all candidates to sign an extra document, an extra declaration, which only stated a certain articles about the authority of Beijing over Hong Kong in basic law, without any legal consultation beforehand. On top of that, they required some candidates to answer the returning officer's question of whether I was going to advocate Hong Kong independence. That was clearly a political screening, but I couldn't do much about it when the executive branch was so repressive and insisted to interfere in our legislature. Some people say politics is the art of compromise, so I did compromise by signing the confirmation form and renouncing this political belief. It is my official reply to the returning officer. I said no. I changed my stance. I compromised. I kowtowed. Yet, I was still barred from running for office because they said I was not bona fide or sincere enough. So, I wondered what else I could do. It became a thought crime in Hong Kong. By calling it a crime, I'm not exaggerating, because sooner or later, Carrie Lam is going to introduce the Article 23 again. She said so. In 2003, the Time Secretary for Security, Regina Ip, said by advocating independence in a verbal manner will not be considered a crime. Maybe I was too naive to seriously take the government's stance into account, but nowadays, by talking about it, you will lose your political right, even though you apostatize. I fully understand that it is said to be a constitutional responsibility in basic law that the Article 23 should be introduced. Yet, if this article is the constitutional responsibility, what about our universal suffrages for chief executive and also legislative council, which were promised in the Article 45 and Article 68? Not only Hong Kong's democratization has been delayed by the government for more than a decade, it is now a time of democratic recession, because duly elected lawmakers could be removed by Beijing's interpretation of our constitution. Beijing is using our anger, I realize that, which is actually caused by them, to tighten its control over Hong Kong in the name of national security. The official Chinese nationalism has been the tool to control our thought, behavior, and community. Official nationalism, according to Benedict Anderson, is a governmental policy which involves compulsory state-controlled primary education, state-organized propaganda, official rewriting of history, militarism, and endless affirmation of the identity of nation. It is very easy to give examples in this case. For example, the student movement in 2012 was against the moral and national education that was described as a brainwashing education, because a teaching manual described the Chinese Communist Party as an advanced, selfless, and united ruling body. Another example is the educational policy of teaching Chinese in Mandarin instead of our mother tongue, Cantonese. And we have the propaganda in Hong Kong keeps describing the transfer of sovereignty as a very cheerful reunification, even though the majority of Hong Kongers have never agreed nor had a say. Another example is the umbrella movement in 2014. It was against the 831 decision made by the National People's Congress Standing Committee, constructed the extra political venting, ensuring that only those who love the country and love Hong Kong can run for chief executive's office. They must be patriotic. So, all in all, the official Chinese nationalism led to centralization in Hong Kong, and localism emerged as a resistance to assimilation and centralization. Localism in Hong Kong represents a local perspective on our history. We want to preserve our own narrative on the past, present, and future of Hong Kong. We want to retain our identity as Hong Kongers and our Hong Kong culture, including Cantonese and traditional Chinese characters. We want to have an accountable government, that is to say, a democratic one, because I believe Hong Kongers morally deserve it. At this moment, more than 100 protesters, most of them are in their 20s or early 30s, are facing different prosecutions, and some of them were sentenced for more than 3 years. While we are paying the price in Hong Kong, the international community needs to act. 20 years after the transfer of sovereignty, China disavows our social contract, the Sino-British Joint Declaration, as the Chinese Foreign Ministry declared the Joint Declaration a historical document that no longer has any practical significance. While the Joint Declaration is the bedrock of our mini-constitution, basic law, I cannot think of a way to preserve the independent judicial power and the rule of law when the government disrespects this international agreement in this manner. Before it is too late, the international community must review its current foreign policy towards China, investigate the violation of Joint Declaration, the erosion of our human rights and rule of law, and most importantly, to encourage a political reform in Hong Kong so that conflicts in Hong Kong can be solved in a large scale. We need to realize and remember that something is much more important than the almighty renminbi. Hong Kong is not a borrowed place on a borrowed time anymore. Hong Kong is our home. We are not doing this merely for us, for our next generation, but for our children's children. So thank you very much.